This happens before you become a millionaire. Let me tell you something that almost no one has the courage to say. Before you get rich, your life tends to get worse. Yes, it gets worse. More pressure, more doubt, less applause, and that's exactly where most people give up. The paradox is simple and uncomfortable. Those on the path to wealth rarely feel well-adjusted at the beginning. If everything were too comfortable, perhaps you wouldn't even be growing. And if you feel like you're doing everything right, but the results haven't appeared yet, that could be a sign, not a mistake. This is where the idea comes in that Napoleon Hill slipped between the lines of think and grow rich wealth tests before it rewards. It observes how you react when people disappear, when plans are delayed, when fear appears without warning. It's not empty wishful thinking, nor cheap mysticism. It's a pattern that repeats itself in the lives of those who build something great. Most confuse preparation with punishment and abandon the game when it's almost over. And perhaps what's happening in your life now is exactly that. The dress rehearsal before the turning point. In this video, you will understand what usually happens in the months leading up to wealth, why life seems to clear the path, why everything gets harder near the top, and how to recognize the right signs. More importantly, how to stop fighting the process and start using it to your advantage. Because nobody becomes a millionaire by accident, but many people give up due to misinterpretation. And if you understand this now, you can avoid the mistake that costs years or a lifetime. Clearing the path. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, just when you decide now it's going to work, a kind of cleanup begins in your life? People you swore were there forever disappear, invitations vanish, clients vanish, partnerships cool down. And you get that feeling, I'm paying the price for trying to grow. But here's the thing. This is usually preparation, not punishment. It's as if life is taking extra weight off your backpack. Because wealth, it doesn't mix well with emotional turmoil, constant distractions, and people who drain your energy without you realizing it. And if you want a financial breakthrough, before that comes a mandatory detachment that tests your purpose. The mistake is interpreting this silence as rejection, when often it's repositioning. When you change course, not everyone can keep up, and that's okay. It's part of the process. Millionaire mindset. Think of a rocket. It needs to release parts along the way to gain altitude. If you keep holding everything back, it won't go up. So instead of begging for attention, you do what strong people do. Adjust your focus, reinforce your strategy, persistence, and protects your vision. And yes, it hurts a little, but on the other side of that pain, a new light usually appears. Opportunity new, the kind your old self couldn't even see. Now, in practice, what do you do when this cleaning begins? You stop chasing after those who left and start building a small but solid circle. People who lift you up, not into a soap opera. You note signs and patterns, without drama. Who disappears when you evolve? Who appears when you need them? And what steals your time? Because time is precious. Abundance disguised. And if anxiety strikes, use this as a clue. Okay, my subconscious mind, you're afraid of the new. So I'm going to act anyway, with self-discipline. Because then comes the second test. And it's even more treacherous. When life gets really hard right near the top, do you want me to maintain this more emotional and cinematic level? Or do you want more direct, more punch short phrases and quick impact? The climb test. When things get harder. When you really start to climb the ladder, life changes the game. Nothing breaks you completely, but everything demands more from you. More focus, more patience, more self-discipline. That's where many people confuse difficulty with a sign of error, when in reality it's a sign of proximity. Like on a mountain, the closer to the summit, The less oxygen, the more wind, the more weight on your legs. This tightness isn't punishment. It's a filter, and only those who have it can pass through. Persistence. At this point, what appears most often are delays and strange, unforeseen events. The response is slow. The money doesn't arrive on the timeline you planned. The project stalls due to silly details. And the mind tries to sabotage you with that dangerous whisper, "Maybe this isn't for you." This is where the real deal comes in. Millionaire mindset. Understanding that pressure is confirmation, not rejection. Those who studied Think and Grow Rich, every major breakthrough comes at an emotional price. In practice, this is the time to double down on commitment to doing the basics well. Simple routines, clear decisions, less distraction, and more daily execution, even without applause. If you study, study better. If you work, work with intention. If you learn, apply it quickly. That's how, subconscious mind, you begin to accept your new identity. Someone who doesn't run away when things get tough. And when you endure this phase without dramatizing it, something changes inside. A desire is born that won't leave you alone. The desire that won't leave you still. The burning longing. There comes a point when standing still starts to hurt more than trying. It's not unfounded anxiety. It's that strange feeling that current life has become too small. You look around and think, it can't be just this, even though everything seems okay on the outside. This discomfort isn't ingratitude, it's desire maturing, gaining strength and direction. It's the kind of inner fire that, when ignored, turns into frustration. And when listened to, becomes wealth under construction. This desire doesn't shout, it insists. It appears when you wake up, when you work, when you're quiet, always pulling you forward. And the more you try to stifle it with distractions, the more tired you become, as if you were fighting against yourself. Here's a little-known secret. People who build abundance. They are not the most confident. They are the ones who can no longer pretend. They stop negotiating with their own vision and begin to act even when afraid. In practice, this is the moment to transform restlessness into structure. You write down what you want to build, even if it still seems too big. Clarity trains. The subconscious mind, you choose a skill to develop now. Sales, communication, investing, leadership, and start today, not when you can. Books like Think and Grow Rich. They cease to be inspiration and become a daily application manual. Because when that desire is organized, it begins to attract opportunity, and they appear small, almost disguised. Small and disguised opportunities. It's curious how, before a major turning point, nothing seems like a big opportunity. There's no giant check, no glamorous invitation, no bright sign in the sky. What appears are things too simple for most to take seriously. A casual conversation, a strange invitation, an annoying problem. And precisely because they seem small, these things, opportunity, they go unnoticed by those who are still waiting for something grand. But wealth, it almost always starts humbly, testing whether you pay attention to detail. Perhaps it's a new contact on social media, someone asking for help, a course that appears out of nowhere, or even an obstacle that forces you to learn something you've been avoiding for years. The ordinary mind ignores it, saying, "That's not it yet." The trained mind asks, "What could this become?" That's the point where millionaire mindset, it begins to differentiate itself from common thinking. Whoever understands abundance learn to treat seeds as seeds, not as finished trees. In practice, this involves a simple yet powerful decision. Act before you're certain. You accept the meeting even without guarantees, take the course even without seeing immediate results. Solve the problem instead of complaining about it. Each small action reprograms the subconscious mind to recognize growth patterns. And the more you act, the more these opportunities begin to repeat themselves, as if something were saying, "This is the way." But there's an even deeper signal emerging along with this. A silent shift in what you come to value. A change in the perception of value. At some point along this path, something silently changes inside you. Money still matters, of course, but it ceases to be the center. It becomes a consequence. You begin to realize that time, knowledge, and connections, they are worth more than any single number. That's when millionaire mindset. It ceases to be theory and begins to become identity. Wealth. It's now seen as something built from the inside out, not something desperately pursued. Before, losing money seemed like the end of the world. Now, losing clarity seems more dangerous. You understand that you can rebuild income, but it's too expensive to rebuild focus, energy, and purpose. This shift is typical of someone who has truly studied the principles of think and grow rich the subconscious mind. It starts working differently, prioritizing decisions that strengthen the long term. This is where the true strategy is born. Abundance, the kind that doesn't depend on luck. In practice, this is reflected in simple everyday choices. You invest more in learning than in showing off, more in structure than in appearance. You exchange idle hours for useful reading, such as biographies, basic finance, or applied personal development. You protect your time with self-discipline, saying no to what doesn't add value to your life. Purpose. And when this new understanding takes hold, something powerful begins to happen. Opportunities cease to be isolated and begin to repeat themselves. The turning point, when everything starts to fall into place. After so much silent preparation, a pattern emerges that's hard to ignore. Opportunities begin to repeat themselves, all pointing in the same direction, almost like an echo. It's no longer an isolated chance here or there. It's a sequence. It's persistence. It's a clear sign. And whoever has persistence, you realize, when life repeats itself, it's not by chance. It's an invitation. That's the moment when financial breakthrough it begins to take shape. Along with that comes an unusual mental clarity. Decisions that previously seemed confusing now become obvious, almost too simple. You wake up knowing what you need to do, without drama, without overanalysis. The subconscious mind, the experiences, mistakes, and tests have already been processed. It's as if the puzzle finally reveals the complete picture. And there's a different kind of energy circulating. It's not empty excitement or fleeting motivation. It's consistency. Work ceases to be a burden and becomes a natural movement towards purpose, even when tired, you keep going. Because there is meaning, there is vision, there is desire organized. But be warned, this turning point requires something rare, quick action and total focus. Because the next phase separates those who hold on from those who lose everything. After the turnaround, surgical focus and organization. When the turning point begins, the most common mistake is to get too excited and lose focus. New ideas emerge from all sides. Invitations appear. Possibilities multiply. It is precisely here that many people lose everything they have just achieved. Wealth. She dislikes confusion. She responds to clarity, direction, and self-discipline. If something has started to work, that's the sign to delve deeper, not to jump from one thing to another. At that moment, focus becomes a conscious, almost strategic decision. You learn to say no to good ideas that deviate from what's already yielding results. The question changes from, "What else can I do?" to, "What should I stop doing now?" This fine-tuning strengthens the millionaire mindset because it protects energy and time. That's how abundance, it stops being a peak and becomes a flow. In practice, this involves the organization that almost no one takes seriously. Separating accounts, recording earnings, understanding simple numbers, creating a minimum management routine. It doesn't matter if it's still a small amount of money. This subconscious mind learned to treat a little as much. He who cannot manage 1,000 cannot sustain millions. This rule never fails. And when this foundation is established, a deeper question arises. What is the purpose of all this? After all, wealth with purpose. When money finds meaning. There comes a point when the question changes on its own within you. It's no longer, how much can I earn, but why do I want to earn this? When this question arises, something has matured, and it wasn't by chance. Wealth, that which remains, is born when it exists, purpose behind the ambition. Without it, money may come, but it slips away, becomes a burden, or turns into a problem. Here, a silent inversion occurs. You stop pursuing money as an end and start using it as a means to provide security, freedom, impact, and real contribution. This alignment changes the way you decide, negotiate, and even work. Millionaire mindset. What's rarer is someone who wants to grow without losing themselves. In practice, this requires clean intentions and choices. Before a big move, you ask yourself, does this expand or just feed your ego? You invest in things that build. Education, solid businesses, the right people. Subconscious mind, it responds quickly when there is coherence between desire and action. And when purpose and action go hand in hand, the abundance, it ceases to be luck and becomes a natural consequence. What do you do with all of this from now on? Now let me really challenge you. If you honestly look at your life today, how many of these signs have you already recognized? People distancing themselves, increasing pressure, a desire that won't leave you in peace, small opportunities knocking at your door. This isn't bad luck. It's not punishment. It's not the universe against you. It's the process silently asking, will you continue even when it becomes uncomfortable? The knowledge you've gained here only changes something if it translates into action. Understanding the game is pointless if you continue playing the same way. From today onward, start viewing challenges as tests, not as obstacles. Begin treating small opportunities with respect, protecting your focus, and organizing your life like someone who expects prosperity. Because wealth doesn't come to those who ask, it comes to those who prepare. Now answer me in the comments, which of these signs are you experiencing right now? Is it clearing the path? The pressure of the climb? Or that restlessness that keeps you from sleeping properly? Writing this down is already an act of clarity, and clarity changes behavior. And if this video made sense to you, it's because you're not here by chance. Something bigger is calling you. The question is whether you'll answer. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here we don't sell illusions or easy shortcuts. We deliver understanding, strategy, and awareness to those who truly want to prosper. Your next step doesn't start tomorrow, nor when everything is perfect. It starts now, with the decision to continue even when no one is watching.